Gentlemen, how are you today?
BC, we're good. Well, I'm good. He's recovering.
Yep.
How are you dressed right now, Bob? Are you dressed up in some costume of some sort?
No, I'm like you. You know, no. You have your finery on today. Armani today, Colangelo.
Colangelo always looks pretty good.
Not Armani.
No,
Xenia?
It's Pal Zaliri.
Who?
Pal Zaliri.
Okay. I assume it's very nice. Is it like is it dark?
It's dark. Yeah.
Tie? No tie.
It's a somber affair, you know.
Got a tie.
Opening night is a somber affair.
Opening night tie.
Yeah. Hey, every night should be opening night in this business. I mean, with the amount of excitement and the enthusiasm just expressed by, people in the organization, I love to see it. It's great.
Right.
Well, and we were just talking about the lockout in the NHL and the fact that you guys aren't in a lockout and you're starting on time this year. And it's gotta feel, not only with the change of personnel on your roster and how your roster looks, but it's just gotta feel so much better having had a full training camp going into the season.
Well, no question. I feel best for Coach to not be so nervous last year to be coming into a situation newly hired, unable to speak to the players leading up to the start of camp.
Right.
Really very difficult, and then have to get everything organized and put it together in 10 days, including 2 exhibition games. It was tough, but 30 days is, I'm going to say, almost too long. We played 7 games, had some success. It's meaningless in the big picture as it relates to the win-loss record, but it's huge for us to create a winning habit and to understand what it takes to win. So it was a productive camp. We're cautiously optimistic going in, and yes, it feels a lot better than last year being in the situation that hockey now faces.
We were talking about when the lockout ended last year. Do you remember the date?
I want to say it was sometime in December, and we started on the 25th, so about December 5th or 6th.
Yeah, that's approximately what I would say too. We just wanted to confirm that.
Yeah, that was there. It was on or about December 5th or 6th, if I recall.
Did you watch any games? Of course you did. You watched games last night, didn't you? Did you watch the Lakers a bit?
I did. I watched the first half of that game, and it's loaded with talent. It looks like a group coming together, and they're still learning how to play with each other. Of course, Dwight wasn't there for the full camp. It's going to take some time to adapt to the offense that they're running, and clearly Steve is not comfortable with it, but that's just my observation, and we'll see if they continue to go down that path. Well,
that's an interesting point that you raise. Given the importance of your point guard, and especially of a point guard like Steve Nash, isn't it important? I mean, and I know you don't want to second guess them, or well, maybe you do, but does there come a point, do you think, when maybe if Nash isn't comfortable and this offense doesn't work, you say, out of hell with it, Steve, do what you're used to doing?
I don't think so. I think that there's going to be different moments in the game where they'll be able to apply, the Steve Nash type of offense. But I'll tell you, if they find a comfort level and everyone gets comfortable playing together, a guy named Michael Jordan always had a guy that was there and ready to shoot the shot. And it was either Steve Kerr or John Paxson, or Craig Hodges. But, in this situation, Kobe Bryant, to have a guy like Steve Nash that he can throw the ball to make a clutch 3 or a clutch shot when the game needs it, I think it's huge. And he can play off the ball a little bit that way because Kobe still is going to have the ball in his hands for a significant portion of time. So, we'll see how it plays out. I think it's just so new to everybody, and playing together with that many, talented players, it takes time.
The most disturbing thing and I watched a good piece of the game, so I got a sense of what was going on. But if I hadn't watched and simply had looked at the line score last night or this morning, and I don't remember exactly what it was, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Steve got something like 6 or 7 points, 6 or 7 assists. Mm-hmm. The Lakers, nobody is going to win with Steve Nash with those kinds of numbers. He's got to have more assists, and he probably has to have at least double-digit points, doesn't he?
Well, I don't know. I think you got to wait and see how it plays out. Clearly, Kobe's a special player, and he's still got a lot left, and he's still able to win you a basketball game by himself. And again, you throw all that other talent out there around him. Let's not draw a conclusion on one game.
No, I guess not. No, and I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying that I thought there were obvious reasons why this team didn't perform last night.
And the guide may be the Miami Heat. And last night you watched those, and this is after now this is their third season together, and how well they play together. So let's talk about your guys, Brian. I mean, you've got a lot of new players. How used are they used to playing with each other, or how unfamiliar might they be until it takes them some time to get into the season and really get to know each other?
Yeah, you point out that we do have 5 or 6 new faces, but in particular, you talk about 3 potentially in a starting lineup: Lowry, Fields, and Valanciunas. That clearly is going to take some time for everyone to get comfortable. But we've had the benefit of the time together. Again, Lowry was out maybe 2 weeks. Jonas was out a couple of weeks. The bottom line is, though, we don't have that same sort of let's say star power that the Lakers are dealing with. That's an issue for them. They're all trying to sort out egos on the court.
Right.
We're just trying to sort out, roles on the court right now.
Well, I mean, they're trying to sort out how are we going to share this.
Mm-hmm.
But you're trying to sort out who's going to step forward and lead this group. So you tell me, starting tonight, who do you want to see? I mean, has it got to be Kyle Lowry?
I think Kyle is clearly the guy that gives us an edge, something that we haven't had in the past. Really on both ends of the floor. I think he's a big shot maker. I do believe that he's going to push the tempo a little bit, and we've been stressing, pushing the pace of our offense. But we've done so many things here to pick up the intensity defensively. Valanciunas is going to be a big part of that. I think Landry Fields is a big part of that. He's one of these intangible type of players that does a lot of things out there on the court, don't necessarily show up on the box score, but and Jonas is doing a lot of the same things. So I just think that, again, sorting through everything that we've seen so far, I'm cautiously optimistic that this is going to come together and work well. The question is, how well will it work, and how deep are we, and how talented are we? Is it going to get us to where we want to go, which is competing for a playoff spot? That's got to be determined purely by playing games. But, all teams are in the same boat. Our biggest issue is that 15 of our first 22, I believe, are on the road. And, that could be a good thing. It could be a negative. We just need to see how it plays.
With Bryan Colangelo, the president GM of the Raptors. We chatted a couple times during the offseason. I talked to Coach Casey on a couple occasions during the offseason. I got the distinct impression from both of you that you were trying to minimize your expectations on what Jonas Valanciunas would be able to do in his first season. I got no sense that either of you expected him to be a starter.
Mm-hmm.
How did that unfold?
Oh, it shows that I can play poker then with you because, look, we've been talking about this all the way back to when we were constructing the roster, going into the draft and going into, free agency and then summer league. I said to Coach all along, listen, I don't want to tell you who to play. You've got to make that determination. But here's reasons why it makes sense. And this is before we had even seen him in a practice situation or in a game situation, and it just, based on what I knew he was capable of doing, based on the observations of everything we had seen, there's only one way to really deal with a player like this, in my opinion. You've got to throw him in there and let him cut his teeth quickly. Because it's too easy for a coach to be in a situation to put in the veteran player, and then if things aren't going right, he can look down to the bench and say, well, I can't go to the rookie right now. The best way to sometimes get someone some experience, much-needed experience, by the way, is early on in a game. And you might even see some of that happen eventually with Terrence Ross, maybe not in the starting lineup, but going to him early so that he can get into a game situation and not have that pressure on everybody in the third and fourth quarter. But, it's Valanciunas is capable of doing a lot because he's so active and he's a difference maker on the court, and I knew he would be. But has he outplayed the others? Does he deserve to start? Yes, I believe he has gotten to a point where we can't, really go into this situation without putting him out there because it really is the way we function best, I believe.
Well, and I would also say to you, and I think you would agree, that one of the other things you and I talked about and we talked to Casey about was the concern that you have with every young player, especially a young big, and that is that they get into foul trouble in a big hurry.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid through the preseason shocked many, myself included, by avoiding that.
Even that fourth quarter performance against the Knicks where he had 5 and he stayed out.
And he stayed out there,
including blocking one of Amari's shots going to the basket. So, look, there's a lot to be said for his level of maturity for just being 20 years old. Physically, he's mature. Emotionally and mentally, he's mature. I think he handles himself real well. Again, let's not anoint him, a Hall of Famer today. Let's let it play. But he's really in a good position to have the kind of impact that we were all hoping for. And now that he has rightfully earned that spot, let's hope that we're able to maintain some sort of performance that the coach feels comfortable continuing on in that regard.
Now, I would have imagined, since we're talking about maturing and the maturation process, I would imagine that in an ideal world for Bryan Colangelo, one of the names starting tonight would have been Ed Davis. Still not starting, still not sure what he is as an NBA player. You tell me. I mean, are we getting anywhere with this young man? Is he any closer to being the player you want him to be?
Yeah, believe it or not, I would say to a man, if you walked around our offices and spoke to the management team, everybody felt like Ed had probably one of the most impressive starts to the season this year than anyone in the group. And he's performed very well in the minutes that he's played. He's very confident. He's decisive out there with the ball. Defensively, he's got great instincts. That's something that we didn't have to, really work on. But he's gotten physically tougher, so it helps him with those instincts. And then just with the work that he's done with his shot, he really did re-engineer his shot this summer, and it has made him more confident and thus more effective in terms of production out there offensively. So he's had a great camp. It's just that, there's someone that happens to score 20 points ahead of him at the 4 spot. And, for now, he's a reserve. That's one of our strengths. Our depth is very good. And we'll be, regardless of who's healthy night in and night out, we'll have people to turn to.
What are the problems with being 10 deep as opposed to 7 deep or 8 deep? Because you probably are 10 deep. You got a lot of guys that probably deserve minutes.
Yeah, you know what? That is a very solid observation, and it's something that the coach is going to have to manage, keeping everybody happy and content throughout the year. Even tonight, determining who was going to be on the inactive list, it was a very difficult decision to make. At the end of the day, it came down to matchups. Some nights it may be what bigs we're playing. Do you put a big on the inactive list? Tonight, the fact that Granger is not available based on a knee injury, we said, let's probably go the way of putting Dominic McGuire there, because he would have been a guy that if push came to shove and we needed a stop, he's a guy you can turn to get that stop, for all those reasons. The different nights will present different challenges, different days throughout this year, keeping everyone happy, assuming everyone's healthy. But depth is a good thing, but it needs to be managed.
Kleza has had a significant, or definitive at least, role with this club in the past. Has he lost his standing?
I would tell you that him last year coming back from the knee surgery was difficult to find a comfort level, but he was still somewhat effective in certain situations. He just wasn't himself. But this summer, he showed that he was back and had a really brilliant summer playing for the Lithuanian national team. Going forward, though, he seems to be a little bit fatigued or tired because he hasn't been as effective and has probably had a disappointing camp, if you will. I don't know if I've said that to him specifically, so let's hope he's not listening to the radio tonight because I want him in a good mood. But he's struggled a little bit. He still has had great practices, and he's helped his team in different scrimmages, win some games with the shot-making ability. But if there's one guy that I would say has maybe taken a step back from his summer activity, it was probably Kleza. So time will tell how much of a role will Landry Fields have. Right now, he's jumped into the starting lineup. The young guys that we want to bring along. There's going to be times where DeRozan's at the 3, Terrence Ross is at the 2. You might have an Allen Anderson playing the swing position. And then Dominic McGuire is going to be needed at times to be a more physical presence against some of the guys that we need to stop. So it's going to be tough. Minutes are going to be tight, especially at that position.
Now, normally, as we started out talking about this way, you'd have the Leafs would be out there, and they'd be getting a lot of the attention here in Toronto from the sports media. Now, that scrutiny, I think, to a significant extent, will switch over to the Raptors. And you talked about 15 of 22 to start on the road.
Yeah.
So is that extra scrutiny a positive thing for you guys? Or, I mean, is it something you're going to have to manage a bit to make sure a young team doesn't struggle with the attention?
Damien, I'm not sure it's going to be that tangible. Clearly, we're always under a microscope in terms of how we're performing. Maybe not with the same level of emphasis, but I have to say that, every night I know that these guys are going to go out and play hard because coach insists on it. And I know every day at practice they're going to be going through the things that the players probably don't want to go through, but because the coaches are so prepared, that's what we're doing. He's really changed the atmosphere here. He's changed the culture. We're prepared for whatever challenge that is, and if it's the media scrutiny and we may be underachieving or underperforming, that comes with the territory, and we're prepared for that. But I just want to still say, as we go through this process, we are still building. We're calling it acceleration, from rebuilding to building to acceleration, but we're still trying to get back to that level of contention for the playoffs day in and day out. And that's the next step that we need to take. If it takes some time and still some growing pains with the new faces, as we talked about, we need to be prepared for that. And if criticism comes with that, great. I'd like to think, we can be competitive and jump ahead of some of the expectations. But, again, all this is to be determined over the next 4 months.
Before we let you go, this is the time of season where we all make predictions, of course. Doug Smith was on with us yesterday, and he boldly predicted 38 victories for your club. I more boldly predicted 42 victories for your club.
How many did Doug say? I'm sorry?
38.
Okay.
And I went 42.
Wow. Uh-huh. Look at you guys.
You'd take either one of those, wouldn't you?
Well, 41 arguably gets you to the playoffs. Statistically, there's only been one team that won 40 and didn't make it in the East in the last 8 years, and it was us. The year that we lost the 14 game, the last 14 games. Chris Bosh, had a broken face and couldn't play. But at the end of the day, 41 gets you to the playoffs. I'm going to go with your number and hope that that's where we get. Doug's number would be a disappointment to me because we wouldn't make the playoffs. So I'll take your number if you're offering it.
By the way, Chris Bosh allegedly couldn't play. You left that word out.
I don't think he wants to go back there.
He played last night.
Well, I guess he wanted to, didn't he?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Colangelo. Best of luck tonight. I'm sure you'll look beautiful out there, and we wish you the best of luck on not only on this evening, but on the upcoming season. And I know we'll have chances to chat as we move through the process.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All
Bryan
right, bye-bye.
Colangelo, President, General Manager of the Toronto Raptors.